Yeah, I'm ready. It's whatever. It's good. All right. So, hello everyone. This is the second episode of the PokéSells official podcast, and I'm here today with the amazing Rocket City Collector, JD, and yeah, let's just get into this. And if you could just introduce yourself and kind of just tell us how long you kind of been in this Pokemon journey and um, just what you do.
Yeah, thank you for having me first off. So
Of course.
my name is Jacob. I go by JD. The only reason I go by JD is because I have another friend named Jacob that I do a lot of card shows with, and it just gets super
Mm.
mixed up. So JD makes it way easier. Uh, but yeah, Rocket City Collector is my Instagram. I have been collecting Pokemon and Pokemon paraphernalia basically like my whole life, playing all the video games. I grew up playing the card game competitively when I was a kid, and now I am back on a journey since probably like early 2019. I've been back on my Pokemon journey and collecting and selling and playing the games, and as of recently started playing the card game again. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Nice, cool. Um, cool. Yeah. So playing your whole life. That's really cool. I started a couple like 8 years ago. So about when I was like eight, I started playing, and I've just been doing it ever since. But have been really getting into it the past couple months. Um, and my little kind of introduction to meeting you was kind of just like I saw like obviously you said you have Instagram. You have a pretty good Instagram account or a really good Instagram account, I should say. And I saw, I think it was one of your like it was like day something of flipping Pokemon cards. And I was like, okay, cool. He seems like a really cool guy. And, just like I was looking for like inspirational type of stuff, just looking. And I saw your stuff and I was like, oh, it's really cool. And you kind of seemed like more super down to earth, kind of instead of just like, there's people that are like fully fledged into the business and that, but you seem more kind of like down to earth type of person who just is kind of on for the ride. So that's
Oh,
my
thank you.
introduction to you. And of course, thank you for coming on. So yeah, so you said you started officially like kind of started selling back in 2019. That's about when I got into competitive, or kind of really restarted it because of some friendships that I had. And you said you play. So what do you play, like standard, or what are you playing?
Yeah, and I'm playing the Charizard deck right now, so pretty
Uh-huh.
basic, but I think it's the most efficient deck to play. Um,
Yeah.
it actually is coming out Friday. The whole theme deck is coming out, so shout out to anybody that wants to learn how to play. You can get that whole deck. Mine's a different variant from that though. Like
Yeah.
it's a lot different from the one you can buy. Dusknoir, Dusclops, all that.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm running right now. And the
Hmm.
better I get, like I said,
That's
I'm
cool.
kind of a noob getting back into it. It's a little bit different than it
Yeah.
was when I was a kid. Um, I want to play other stuff too, but right now starting with Charizard has been really good.
So where we last left off, you said you were just playing. So you've been collecting Pokemon your whole life. You you started kind of getting officially into reselling in 2019, if I remember correctly, and then now you said you've just been playing Charizard. Charizard's a really cool deck and competitive standard. I don't play. It's actually the one deck my brother and I pretty much don't have for standard. But besides that, and I've always wanted to play it, but that's really cool. I didn't know that you played Pokemon cards. It's you work at a card shop, right? Or you work like you're like a like a sub shop in a card shop or something like that.
No, I work at Poke Collect. Yeah, I just it's our like
Oh,
local
okay,
big shop. I work there. Yep.
that's cool. Do they run tournaments?
Yeah, every Saturday. So whether it's like pre-release, cup challenges, all that stuff, they do it there. So I will be playing there officially a lot. I did the Surging Sparks pre-release there. I got smacked down, but yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I did that a couple of weeks ago at our card shop. That was pretty fun. Um, that's really cool. How does it feel to work at a card shop? Because for me, I've always loved card shops ever since I got introduced to them. How does it feel kind of working in that environment and like just being in that all the time? How does that as a seller affect your kind of perception on the game? and how does that affect kind of just how you make your decisions?
So I can't speak for working, like I can't speak for every card shop because I know they're not all the same. But
Hmm.
Collect is awesome. So like working there is really cool. Boss man's really cool. Everyone that works there, everyone vibes together. We get along. I like it a lot. And it also helps with getting to know the community too, especially with playing. So since I started playing, I already knew some of the local players just from like buying
Hmm.
cards from them and seeing them around and stuff. But now
Hmm.
that I've started playing, I've been really like making sure I know who plays. So when they come in the shop, I can talk to them about it and stuff like that. It is also good, if there's certain cards I'm looking for, if I can't find them myself, I can always turn to the shop and hopefully, source it from
Hmm.
that. So it's really great, honestly, getting to work there. I like it a lot, and I will be vending shows soon under PokeCollect's name, so I think I'm looking forward to everything that I'm doing with them.
That's really cool. That's really cool. I had a friend who attempted to work at our local card shop. He wasn't able to because of some transportation stuff, but that's something that I've always wanted to do, at least for a little bit, just to see how it is, because I think it would be cool. I think it would be cool.
Yeah,
Um,
I would
cool.
definitely like look into the shops and figure it out because some of them do a lot of online stuff. So if you have a spot where you can go and do like online orders in the shop, it'll give you a lot of stuff to do in there.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. All right, that's really cool. You said you're gonna vend under Poke Collect. And I've seen that you've vended and you've done sell. That's how I met you in real life and got this awesome card signed. This one I still got it. It's up here on the setup.
nice.
But um but how does it, like, in relation to conventions and vending, what has been one of your favorite events to vend, either for yourself as Rocket City or as under Poke Collector, whatever other names you might go vend for?
Uh, so I've only vended under like my brand so far. So honestly, the my favorite show to vend is the Nashville show, the one where we met at. That one's
Hmm.
awesome, man. It's fun. It's
Cool.
semi-local to me.
Hmm.
It's right off the interstate. You're not far from downtown either if you want to go downtown. So it's just an all-around
Hmm.
fun show. There's a big variety there.
Yeah.
And of course, like
Hmm.
Collecticon's fun to vend. Um, every show's different, and it can even be the same show just at a different time. It can be completely different. But
Yeah.
Nashville's probably my favorite one to vend.
Cool. How many times have you vended at the National?
Uh, for 3 years now. So I think when I
Oh, that's
first
really cool.
started doing it, I think it was only twice a year. So for a few years, twice a year, and now they do it 3 times a year. So probably like
Yeah,
four to at least like seven, probably 7 times now, maybe.
that's really cool. And you said you vended at Collecticon?
Yeah, I've vended almost every Collecticon. I've probably missed like four of them for the
Nice.
last 3 years. Four in the last three
Oh,
years.
oh wow, that's really
Yeah.
cool. How does vending something compare? So like a national, which is more of like a local, like specific to Nashville type event or convention. How does that compare to something like as big as Collecticon? Um, how does that like how is the caliber different, and if in relation to vending?
Yeah, so Collecticon is like more of a convention than a card show. Now, granted, it is geared towards cards
Mhm.
heavily. Every vendor there's 95% of the 98% of the vendors are selling cards, whether it's Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, they're all TCG. Um, and the way it's advertised and branded is completely different. So there are
Mhm.
different calibers. It's hard to explain unless you go. Like I said, Collecticon's a
Yeah.
convention, and the national, not like the Nashville National, is
Mhm.
strictly a card show. So Collecticon's amazing because you get all the voice actors and stuff coming, which draws a
Mhm.
whole other crowd there. Um, So,
Mhm.
and then you have musical performers too, like Steve Aoki or something. So it brings a whole other crowd for different reasons. And then there's like anime
Yeah.
merchandise. So you get that whole world of that at Collecticon, which is really awesome because you never know who's going to walk up to your table, what cards you're going to see. You see that if you're into Pokemon, Collecticon is the one to go
Mhm.
to see the craziest stuff you never had a chance to see. If you are just into
Yeah.
collecting or like cards in general, Nashville is a good one to go to. They're hard to compare to each other because they're completely different, but they're both
Yeah.
really, really good. The one thing about Collecticon though
Cool.
is they travel around to different states several times a
Yeah.
year. So
Yeah.
depending on where you are, you can go to Texas and or you could go to Atlanta. It just really depends, and each one brings a little something different. They'll have a different music guest or something like that.
Cool. That's really cool. I really do want to go to a CollectorCon someday. Just because of scheduling, I haven't really been able to go anywhere. But I definitely that is definitely on the list for sure to go within a couple of year or two. Um, so that's really cool. And obviously you've done card shows and you've done that more vending side, but compared to the whole like your whole in the whole time you've been selling TCG, um, primarily Pokemon. What platforms have you seen the most success on? Even like if that's like eBay or TikTok or whatnot, or I don't know, like Facebook Marketplace or Mercari or even vending. Like what in what areas do you usually see the most success and I guess like outreach?
Definitely Instagram. I do a lot
Hmm.
of claim sales, and I have always done claim sales for a long, long time. Actually, I recently found out, but I don't know if this is true, but he said on Instagram, if you have prices on something, you will get shadow banned, and not as many people see your page for that because you're not supposed to be
Really?
selling things on Instagram unless it's through like their official Instagram shop or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that's an
Hmm.
interesting thing I recently learned. But Instagram has been like my most successful just because like I built the community and page on there. And so I just have a lot of
Hmm.
returning buyers. And then of course card shows are always really good. So those are like the two main. And then TCG Player is a pretty easy platform to sell on that can be basic like passive income.
Yeah. That's really cool. I did not know that about Instagram. So do you mean like connecting the price to a card, or if you like put it on a story and you put like the card is like $7 or whatever it is?
Yeah, like so when I run a claim sale, I have price stickers on my cards, and like having those price
Yeah,
stickers on my cards, I recently learned it'll like shadow ban you, which makes a lot of sense to me. I'm not
really.
gonna go into
Yeah.
deep detail why it makes sense because that's a whole other wormhole, but it makes sense that they want you to be officially selling through the Instagram shop connected to your
Yeah.
website and just selling something
Hmm.
on there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because they probably get like a commission rate or they get
Yep,
something related to it. Yeah.
yep,
Yeah, that makes sense. I did not know that too. I will keep that in mind. Thank you for
yeah,
that. That's why we do this.
yep,
We do this to learn a lot new stuff.
yep.
You spoke about Instagram community and obviously you have a big following, around 14,000 followers. Um and how did you grow that? Like how what strategies did you use? What things did you implement kind of just to grow that? And for people like myself, because I don't have, I mean, I have a decent following. It's grown a lot in the past couple of months, like the last 2 months, it's skyrocketed. But how do you recommend for like new people just to get the ball rolling with kind of trying to acquire like a bigger following?
So it's been a hard grind for me. There are so many people out there. Like my following is so small compared to so many people, and there's some really good content creators out there. Uh, like there's some people that can just, start out at like a couple thousand followers and go to like 20K within a year, and I've seen several people do that. I wish I could
Hmm.
be like that, but and so being persistent and consistent and constantly putting out videos
Hmm.
and thinking of original ideas, that would be like my recommendation. It's different for everybody though. Like My page is a lot of content, but it's also a lot of selling, you know? It's a mixture of
Hmm.
selling and content together. So it's different for me than if I wanted to be a straight content creator. There is one guy I want to give a shout out to. I want to make sure I say his name right. So let me look it up real quick, just because I don't want to get it wrong when I say it. Um, but this is a content creator that I've seen grow so much. Uh, so Powder TCG. Do you know Powder TCG?
Patter TCG.
Yeah,
Let me
POWDR
look this up.
TCG. He is a really nice guy. Always been super chill at the shows, and his content is very good. He makes new videos every day. That's one guy that I think if anybody is new
Hmm.
into this and they want to like kind of learn some stuff to build their following, he is one guy that is like really good to watch. You know, his content is original.
Hmm.
He's doing collabs with a lot of people now, so that's somebody that like if you want to be a straight content creator, I think, you know, kind of watching him and talking to him would be pretty helpful. It just depends on, not trying to segue from your question or anything. I'm still on the
No, you're
topic, but
fine.
it just depends on what niche you're into in Pokemon, you know?
Hmm.
So like if you want to
Oh
be a
well.
seller, you definitely want to like hit the shows, meet those people, the vendors and stuff like that. You know, have all your like pages linked together. So like if you're trying to build an Instagram page, you want to have your eBay link on there, your whatnot link.
Hmm.
Um, and even as a seller, you can still do videos, you know, of like these are the cards that I picked up, or do vendor point of views. Um,
Hmm.
and then if you want to be like straight content creator, you know, you can always just do videos of like buying cards, interviews with people. It's really like a endless supply of ideas if you just think of them, you know?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I saw Powder TCG. That's really cool. I'll give him a shout out and I will reach out to him. Maybe we can have him on sometime. That's really cool. Yeah, and no, that's super true. Like finding your niche, like kind of how we talked about before when I kind of did that quick interview at the national, was that like find your niche. You know, there's a niche for everything, and that's
Yep.
kind of what I'm figuring out right now. Kind of my niche. I'm kind of just being a more generic seller, just kind of selling singles. I like a lot more modern, but I also like a lot more retro. I just don't have access to a lot of retro right now because retro is definitely a more high ticket place to get into. But yeah, that's really cool. So I appreciate that, and yeah, that's great. And I know I definitely understand like the grind because for me, and I mentioned this earlier, in a other episode, but it was like I it took me a super long time to like get my first 100 followers, but once I started getting that, like it just started like speed balling and speed rolling and just kind of being active on the platform, and I guess kind of posting stuff at the right time and finding like little niches in the out like little things in the algorithm that could help boost me up definitely helped. Um, and like creating like a series. So like for example, you're like this is day whatever flipping Pokemon cards, or um, I know Deep Pocket Monsters has like the should I open it or should I keep it sealed, or what grade am I going to get or whatever. Finding something like that that's unique to yourself is really really good. And that's kind of what I started. I kind of started something. It's called like Pack Rip Weekly. It's just me opening a Pokemon pack every week. I have horrible Pokemon opening luck. So it's
Me
mostly
too.
just me getting a whole bunch of trash cards. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just like I mean, like I'll get a cool card. I'll like, or I can buy a cool card, or I know like I would rather just buy it. But my like, I can't open anything good for the life of me. It's just, I think like the last hit I pulled was like 4 months ago or 5 months ago, and it was like an $80 card. So it was like it was decent, but it's like, can't. I would much rather just buy the cards. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just camera luck, I guess. But yeah, so definitely getting the ball rolling and learning how to scale. Um, and I guess getting to that, so you've been in this card game, this card space for a little bit, or not a little bit, for a good amount of time, a lot longer than me, um, which is awesome. And you've been managing to stay consistent. But what was like your first? I say like, what was your first Charizard? or what was your first high value card that you either sold or acquired, or what was that first card that you were like, oh wow, like I'm in this for real, like this is like a very important, like this is like a milestone kind of, like looking back on it, you see that either purchasing or selling this card was like you're in this for the long run.
So it's kind of a sad thing to bring up because I ended up selling the card. It's the one card I regret selling. And it's not even like a card I won't ever be able to get again. I could easily go buy it if I wanted to, but I don't want to. I won't get it for the same price that I got it for, back then. But it was a legendary collection reverse holo Charizard. I got it probably like during COVID in 2019. Um, I picked it up in a local collection out of Birmingham, Alabama. So I made that trip out there. I picked up two collections
Mm-hmm.
that day that ended up just being crazy, but bought a big collection, but just for
Yeah.
that Charizard, I was able to pay $300. The guy was extremely happy with getting 300 for that, just that, because I spent a lot more on everything else he had. But I was the only person
Mm-hmm.
that offered him more. He said everyone is offering like 40 and $50. And I was like, nah, it's worth a lot more. So back then,
Yeah.
I don't know what the value is. I'm sure it's way more now, uh, because it was still a little more slept on. So I think back then the card was going for
Mm-hmm.
like $500 in the condition that it was in. So I got it for 300, which was amazing for me. And I graded it and it got a PSA 8. Um, I was so happy with that. It substantially increased the value of it.
Yeah.
And eventually I held it for several years. I think I held it for 3 years and I finally sold it. And that's the one card I regret selling, but it was a milestone for me when I first got it, from getting it raw to grading it and getting a really nice grade on
Yeah.
it. And then even selling it, the whole process, it took years for all of it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. And then the other one was like a Gold Star Charizard that I had in the PSA
Mm-hmm.
9. And, that's a
Nice.
very valuable card that I also sold. I used to collect Charizards, and my priorities changed with what I wanted to collect, so I stopped collecting Charizards and I sold all my high-end ones. But yeah, both of those
Yeah.
were definitely like big milestones. I don't regret selling the Gold Star. I don't know why I don't, but the legendary reverse one, man, oh, I love that card so much.
That's awesome. And kind of like to shoot off that in a way is how, like you said, people were offering him like 40, $50 for that card. And it's like there's so many like people just trying to lowball everyone in the community, trying to make like the most amount of profit that they can. When really like it should be more about, that connection. Like you said, that story where like you got the card for a pretty good price, and then like it took, then you went and got it graded. So it's like the next step. And then after that it took a couple years, but you eventually sold it. So it's kind of just that, um it's a journey, and that's something that I really like about Pokemon. I don't know about you, but is that there's stories behind cards, like there's a streamer that I watched a while ago, and he went to where did he go? He went to Brazil for, I believe, the Latin America International Championship 2 seasons ago, and he is pretty much trying to collect every Team Rocket card. And he didn't have, I think, Team Rocket's EX. And pretty much like he went through like this crazy, like not bizarre, but this crazy like Brazilian market, trying to like just go like all these little tiny shops, and then someone had it, and he was like, oh my goodness, like I would really like I it's that story of he ended up buying it, and it's just that story of finding he had to go to that specific place to buy that card. It's like he had to do all that type of stuff. Um and I love how there's a bunch of cards that have those types of stories. So yeah, I definitely need to find some more of those in my collection, because most of them are just childhood stuff. But I agree with that a lot. I don't know if you have anything else to say about that.
Uh, I will say Team Rocket Returns is like the best set ever. But so similar, the way I got back into Pokemon, I was at the Nashville Flea Market that's at the fairgrounds where we go to that card show. But I
Hmm.
bought a bunch of old hollows off this guy there, like early 2019, at a flea market. It's
Hmm.
like our type, it's what we would call a bazaar here. It's a flea market.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
like what got me back on this journey to begin with. So it's pretty cool how
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, there's a story behind everything. I used to not like PSA ones, but now I do appreciate PSA ones because there's like a
Yeah.
story behind the damage and wear on that card. So I
Hmm.
agree. There's always cool stories you can find in Pokemon.
Yeah. This is another question I just kind of thought of right now as we were talking about grading, PSA grading. I have a couple cards in my collection that I think are pretty good. Like they're around maybe a 9 or a 10. One of them being a Charizard that I have from Evolutions. And what would you say that it's like a smart move to have those cards graded, especially as an early buy or an early seller, or would you say that it's better just to kind of continue raw until you have like a decent amount of capital to invest in grading? Because obviously grading is very expensive, or it can be somewhat expensive, depending on who you're doing, um, or who you're sending to grade. But what do you kind of recommend taking that step to like kind of grade a card if you think it's like worth it could possibly be something?
So it depends on the card really, because a lot of modern cards, even if it gets a 9, then it's worth like the same price as the raw card.
Hmm.
So it really depends. I would try to get like 25 to 30 cards to send off. And yeah, I mean, it is going to cost a
Hmm.
little chunk if you do that. Probably be roughly like, if you sent off 30 cards to PSA, it's probably like $350 or something to grade 30 cards with them. That's just like a rough estimate, I would imagine. So
Hmm.
like 350 to grade 30 cards, but if you do the math on even if you got, say you average $30 per card back on that. Um, so
Yeah,
it's not
you
necessarily
make money
you don't
back.
have to build up hundreds of cards to grade. I just think getting like a nice
Hmm.
little chunk to send off because uh if you're going to be waiting a lot and you don't want to just send off like 4 or 5, lower end cards just to be waiting on those forever when you're about to send off more.
Yeah.
It's better to send off. Now, if you're sending
Yeah.
off like a card that has a high value already, say it's a Poncho Pikachu, you're gonna send that at
Hmm.
a higher or a higher grading service. It's gonna cost you more, but you're gonna get the card back way faster. That's the type of stuff you would send off individually, not with other cards. So it really just depends on what you're sending
Yeah.
off. And like if you want to sell, it depends on like what kind of returns you want.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Thank you for that. The grading is something that I've always just had like has been confusing for me. Like I don't know like, oh, what's the best way to grade a card? What is like obviously PSA and like CGC and all like there's those big platforms. But it's just like what platforms you use, like what's kind of the whole process. But good. Yeah. I definitely don't have 30 cards of around 30 cards to send to grading. So I will be thinking about that once I have some cards to grade. Um, that's really cool. So I appreciate that. Thank you for that. And with that, what obviously, like we said, this is a journey, right? Pokemon reselling is a journey. And with that comes memories. So what have been some of your favorite memory or some of your favorite memories just in general of while in this TCG space?
So my favorite memory of Pokemon in general is when I was a kid, my granddad would take me to. I love my granddad so much, and I miss him so much. Grandparents are the best.
So,
Uh, so shout
yeah.
out to all grandparents. But he would take me to Books a Million every Saturday, and he would give me
Uh-huh.
$20 to buy Pokemon cards, and I would play every Saturday. I don't know if they definitely don't do it now, but I don't even know if they've done it in like 20 years. But you could play on a Pokemon League every Saturday. So I would go get my
Hmm.
packs and I'd rip them and then I build my deck and go play with the other kids, and you could earn little gym badges and stuff like that. So that is like my most fond Pokemon memory. But then like going to all these shows like recently within the last few years with all my friends and stuff and meeting up with them there, I've made a lot of good memories that
Hmm.
way too, especially like when you're in a different city that you've never been to, like a big city like
Yeah.
Houston, Texas, or Orlando, Florida. Like you get to make some cool memories with there with people you typically wouldn't. if you didn't meet them in this community, you know. So lots of
Yeah.
good memories with
Yeah.
that.
Awesome. That's super cool. Yeah, no, grandparents are always the best. I love my grandparents. And that's super cool. Yeah, Books a Million doesn't do that. I know Toys R Us did that for a while. And a lot of people did stuff like that. Toys R Us and Books a Million. Toys R Us obviously is not here anymore, but that's really cool. And yeah, something you said about building I guess kind of like building connections and having a community is, and that's awesome. It's a great part of this space and something that I feel like is not no, it's something that is said a lot with a lot of people, and it's true. It's like Pokemon's like pretty much one big community, one big family. You know, we have different sides. You know, there's like people that like to collect. There's people that like to master set. There's people that like to play TCG. There's people that like to play online. There's people that now like to play Pocket, which I'm now hooked on Pocket, and Pocket's all is an amazing game. But there's just people doing all different types of things within the space and finding their little family and their little community. And I've definitely heard that from a lot of people that go like to competitive like regionals. Like, you know, you get I don't know, you get the Airbnb or you get the hotel suite and you're just chilling with the boys or chilling with the gang. And you're just, you know, chilling and you're flipping cards or you're playing or whatever it might be. But definitely having that community is definitely something important and something that I experience every day because one of my best Pokemon friends is my brother, and we live together. So we're always constantly talking about Pokemon cards or what the new deck is or how this result was or arguing which deck is better. So I definitely feel that, and that's something great, and that's kind of something why I'm starting this is just to kind of build that community and kind of just help others find a community through Pokemon, which is an amazing hobby. But I definitely agree with that. Um, what what do you when you guys usually so you go to new cities usually for a lot of stuff? What do you guys usually do? You guys kind of just like hang out, or you guys will like play, or what do you do with your guys or your group when you go to like maybe an event or depending I guess it depends if it's an event or a regional but or a tournament. What types of things do you guys like to do when you guys are together?
So I haven't traveled any regionals yet, because I just got back into playing, you know. But
Hmm.
so typically,
Yeah.
like, say we're going to Collecticon, we get into
Mhm.
town and we go set up immediately. It's a lot of work. Usually we're vending, so like it's
Yeah.
mostly work, I
Yeah.
will say. Um, so yeah, we're working, vending at the shows. You know, we're cutting it up the whole time at the shows, having fun, talking to people, making content, willing and dealing. But so outside
Hmm.
of the shows, we're constantly trying to figure out where we're gonna eat. Always trying to figure out where's gonna take a group of 15 to 20 people right now.
Yeah.
So that's always pretty hard finding out where we're gonna eat because it's usually a bigger group of people. And then honestly, we at these shows we spend more time trying to figure out what we're doing than actually doing stuff. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of planning and trying to plan, and then it usually ends up groups splitting up, and like five of us are over here at this trade night, while other people are out at a theme park or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty chaotic at the card shows, outside of the card shows.
Yeah.
Um, and there's always trade nights after the card shows. So that is one place you can usually
Hmm.
find us later is the trade night. At least you'll catch us
Hmm.
there for a little bit. You know, we might not stay the whole time.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
man, we spent so much time trying to figure out where we're gonna eat.
Yeah. Hey, food's important. Food's one of the best
Yeah,
places, and especially if like you're in a new city, like you have to figure out what's the restaurant. You know, like you're not just gonna go to like McDonald's or like a Pizza Hut or I don't know whatever you might. You got to find like, oh, what's this like mom and pop's like Mexican restaurant, or like what's this like,
yep.
oh, they have a cool sushi bar. Oh, let's just do that. So it just depends on you have to try new things. But I definitely feel that, and I know that's probably going to be an issue for my group of guys once we start doing stuff. Probably just eating a lot of like pizza pub places because we like pizza, but I definitely feel that. You said something about trade nights. I've never really like done a trade night. So what is it? It's just people trading, right? Kind of just doing that type of stuff, or what usually consists in a trade night?
Yeah, there's a lot of trading, a lot of selling, a lot of buying. It's basically like where all the vendors and patrons go after the show to like mingle and work out deals that, maybe didn't get done earlier. It gives a lot
Hmm.
of the patrons a chance to sell,
Hmm.
so they'll come and try to sell a lot of their stuff and, you know, pretty much just opportunity to like get to meet the people after the show that you either did business with or interacted with. It's pretty fun. Um, Trade nights can go
Cool.
on pretty late too. It just really depends. There's been times
Yeah.
at Culture Collision in Atlanta one year, we were literally in the lobby of the trade night. Granted, it was like right at the bottom of the hotel. We were there probably till
Hmm.
4 a.m. Uh,
Yeah.
wheeling and dealing cards. Yeah, and then we had to be up at 7 a.m. for the card show to be there at 8
Yeah.
a.m. So it can
Yeah.
be a little bit wild, but it's totally worth it. It's fun. You know,
Uh,
like you said, memories.
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's all done. That's really cool. So it's kind of like the after party to the party, which is obviously the convention or whatever you guys are
Yeah.
doing. That's really cool. Um, you do vend a lot, and what you said that's most of the time what you're doing. You're at an event, you're vending. What do your typical like days look like when you're vending? Like, is it like a 8 hour day, 12 hour day, or is it just like constantly happening? Like, usually you said you have to be up by 7. Usually, how late do those conventions go?
Most conventions open at 10 o'clock. That's just
Mm,
averaging it out, 10 o'clock. Sometimes they let VIP in at 9. Sometimes a convention will open at 11 and they let VIP in at 10. But typically they start at 10 o'clock. And depending on where you are, like if we're at one that's out of town, we have a hotel. We usually try to stay at a hotel that's within walking distance. But
yeah,
typically there's like a few of us guys in one hotel room, so we have to wake up in time for
yeah,
everybody to take a shower, everybody to get ready. We like to usually get coffee
yeah.
beforehand or something like that. So you just got to make sure all that time
Mm,
you account for that. And then like you never know, like you got to have your badge to get in the show. What if one of your boys forgets his badge
yeah,
back at the room? That's happened. That's one of the
yeah.
many things that could happen.
Hey,
So just making sure you have the time to get there and set up. Because
yeah,
that's another thing you have to get there and set up. So that takes however much time before the show opens for you to even get your stuff out there. Um, so where let's see, let's see. I guess if you really think about it, you're working like 10 hours at the card show if you include like when you wake up, you're starting your day because the
mhm,
whole day's work, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
And then afterwards, you go after the card show, you go get dinner or go back to your room, do what you got to do for a
yeah,
couple hours, and then you're at the trade night, which is essentially work in a way. For me, it is
yeah.
usually work at the trade night because I'm at the trade night to either buy, sell, or trade cards, you know.
Yeah. So long days. It's definitely hustling cardboard and just flipping stuff, and yeah, that's really cool. That's good to know. So get a good night's sleep before the whole convention start is what you're saying. So you're kind of
Yeah,
charged up and get lots of coffee and espresso and all that stuff. I hate to do this, but I need to use the restroom really quick, so I'm gonna use the restroom and then. All right, yeah, all good. All right, we're back. Yeah, so cool. Long hours, get a bunch of sleep before shows. And yeah, that's really cool. Um, Here's another little thing. Just wanted to know people. I know obviously you signed this NTV, awesome NTV that I have here. But what is your favorite Pokemon?
Entei and Ho-Oh and Mewtwo and Mew.
Nice.
I don't know. There's a
Yeah.
lot, but Entei and Ho-Oh,
Yeah.
I guess it's hard to like this. To have an absolute favorite's very hard. I think I have to say Entei,
Hmm.
but like when I really truly think about it, my Grail card is a Ho-Oh card, has Ho-Oh in it,
Yeah.
so it's hard to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. Yeah, and it depends. Sometimes the art on something I love about Pokemon is the art. Like the art is obviously beautiful, but sometimes the art on a card is different, um, or makes you think of the Pokemon in a different light than seeing it on the show or seeing it in the video games or seeing it in whatever way. So I definitely feel so. Second gen, are you more of a second gen type of guy?
So I mean, of course, I was raised with first gen. When first gen came out, is when I was collecting. First, second, and third
Mm,
gen, like that was my collecting era. Um, so yeah, I really do like third generation too, though. So
third gen.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like that a lot. But yeah, I guess second gen. I don't know. It's really like Mewtwo. I don't know. Mewtwo's definitely in my top as well. It's really hard to decide,
Hmm.
but the legendary dogs are so awesome, and so is Ho-Oh.
Hmm.
Lugia is cool too, but
Yeah.
Ho-Oh's cooler.
Yeah. I feel it. So yeah, gold over silver. Um, No, that's super cool. Yeah, no, the legendary dogs. I feel like Mewtwo, and Mew are like two Pokemon that kind of just transcend all like the generations. They're kind of like they can be. I don't know if they're in every game, but I know they're like they're kind of those evergreen Pokemon. You got like Pikachu, you got Mewtwo, you got Mew, you got Charizard, you got like Gengar. You have all these Pokemon that mostly from first gen, that kind of just transcend and are kind of always, I guess, in the limelight, or always just kind of, um, yeah, just always in the limelight, or always the kind of those Grail Pokemon. That's what, yeah, I love the Suicune and the Entei and Raikou. Those are definitely really cool guys. And I remember reading the Johto mangas of Pokemon, and those when those guys make the entrance, it's really really cool. It's really sick. Um, I haven't played any of the old retro video games. I definitely need to get onto that. But that's super, super, super cool. Um, yeah. Um, we're kind of wrapping up. But what do you have any other, or I guess before we wrap up, you had we in our previous interview, you said that people have to find their niche, and we kind of just talked about that earlier. But what would you say would be your niche or niches that you find? I guess this kind of relates to the previous question on what platforms you find the most success on. But what niches do you see either going being successful in the future, or currently doing well, or that you have found a majority of your success in?
So first, when I first got into like selling heavily, um, vintage was like my main niche. I love vintage. It's what I like to collect. I was one of those people. I've reformed, but I was one of those people that was like, vintage is always going to control Pokemon and it's always going to be the best,
Hmm.
which I've eaten my words because look at a Moonbreon, look at the
Hmm.
so many of the all arts, the Tina, uh, all the all arts, all of them. Let's be honest, you know what I mean? They came out with that stuff, and I was just like, wow, Pokemon has changed. So my first niche was
Yeah.
vintage, um, and then I leaned into autographs after that, actually. I kind of
Oh,
picked
really?
up like the autograph route for a while, not just with Pokemon, but just autographs in general. I still do
Yeah.
deal a lot of Pokemon autographs. But
Hmm.
yeah, so it actually kind of segued into autographs and then segued into me being like accepting the modern Pokemon wave and being like, yeah, I see this right here. So now I have heavily focused on I have heavily focused on modern for the last few years. Um, but vintage is making its comeback, so I'm trying to
Yeah.
get back into that vintage wave. And then slabs have always been one of my biggest sellers. So like uh vintage, modern, and slabs have always been like my niche specifically,
Mhm.
and autographs, which I know that's different things, but it all kind of transcends into one thing. You get a slabbed vintage signed card by somebody, it can all
Yeah.
be the same thing. Um,
Yeah.
but
That's
those have
cool.
been like my most successful selling endeavors. Definitely grading cards, of course, over the years, being able to buy some of those high-end cards for really good prices and grading them has been great. And of course, going to signings and stuff and getting artists to
Yeah.
sign cards and sketch on them has
Mhm.
been really good. Um, I will say though, once you build, we talked about it a lot in this podcast, but once you build community, you kind of find out what other people like too, so you can kind of tend to those people too. Like, say you know a few
Yeah.
people that like autographs, reach out to them and be like, hey, are you interested in these? Or someone who likes Japanese cards, if you like Japanese cards, you can kind of build your niche into that. There's many different things out there. But I just definitely think it's good to find a few or one and stick to them, and if you want to branch out, do it, but kind of learn a lot in what you're going to branch out to before you do it.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah, cater to those needs. Where, if your friends like specific things that cater to that, that's really cool. That's really cool about autographs too. I never really realized how big that market was until recently. That's awesome. And vintage, yeah, vintage is obviously good. And modern, I feel like modern is obviously that's kind of what I'm doing right now, just because it's kind of the most accessible and it's constantly changing. But that's really cool. There's a little side note, but kind of relating to autographs and I guess meeting people. You recently met Hulk Hogan. How was that? Was that really cool?
Oh, dude, it was awesome. He was so nice, man. And I waited in line for like over 2 hours, but it was like absolutely worth it. Bucket list thing to
Yeah,
do. So glad I
yeah,
did it. And like,
yeah,
he couldn't have been nicer. For him to have to come through and meet all the people that he was
nice.
meeting that day and shake
Mhm.
everyone's hand and stuff, he was a very chipper guy. So it was cool, man. Definitely
Yeah.
something. The rest of the day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So it was awesome.
Huh. Uh, that's awesome. Do you have anyone next, or are you trying to get anyone next, or is just kind of you kind of good with
Oh
that,
no,
or
dude, I'm always trying to get autographs. It just really depends on the occasion or the event that comes up.
yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely like to get some Mike Tyson autographs on some Pokemon cards. So that might be something I try
Yes,
to do next.
yes.
Yeah.
I would love to do that. Hey, if you have that happen, I would love to do that. I actually today I bought my T-shirt for the match on Friday. And me and my
Oh,
boys
nice.
are we're gonna be doing a sleepover and just hanging out, and I'll probably be recording some Pokemon opening content while we're just watching the match and just having fun watching them. I don't know who's gonna win yet, but I hope it's Mike, because we need him back. But it's definitely really cool. So yeah, if you ever got some Mike Tyson cards, I would love to maybe buy a Mike Tyson Hitmonbro. Hit someone one of the Hitmonbros. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. He
Um,
he was in
cool.
Nashville doing signings at a show not too long ago.
Really, I did
Yeah,
not
I,
know that.
I
I need
was
to.
yeah,
I
I
need
was
to
out
get
of
more
town
into
for
these news.
Collecticon. I do have something I want to
Yeah,
show before we end. I brought a couple things for
yeah,
show and tell. So
yeah.
this
Go,
is
go. Cool.
this is a PSA 10. I had the glare so bad. PSA 10 Neo Inte, Japanese from my
Wow, it's
PC.
really cool.
Really cool
Yeah,
card. Trying to get
nice,
the glare.
nice, nice.
The glare is so bad. And then I have the exact same card in a PSA 1. So I have a 10
Oh,
and a
what?
1. Yeah, pretty cool.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't usually collect ones, but I had to get this one. It's so destroyed. I
yeah.
love it. And
Oh
then
my
I
goodness.
do
Yeah,
have
that's
this. This is
crazy.
cool. This is a Stan Lee autograph, the
Oh, nice,
legendary
nice.
creator of Marvel Comics.
Yeah,
So that's one of
yeah.
my
That's
grails. And
sick.
I put the blue bumper around it,
That's
make it red, white, and blue. It looks awesome.
yeah,
So
yeah.
those are some of my
That's very
special
cool.
things for my PC. I just wanted to show off.
No, that's sick. That's sick. Definitely never don't hesitate to ask. That's super cool though. What I see the bumper things. Is that something you put on, or do you ask for that to be graded when you're grading stuff,
Oh no, those are just like
or is
aftermarket
that
things. Companies make those you put on. That's not the grading companies don't put those on there.
that's really cool. Um, dang, that's actually sick. My uncles were big Marvel Comics people, so that Stan Lee thing is really cool. I'll have to clip it and send them a clip of it.
Oh yeah,
That's
dude.
really cool.
One of my
Before we
favorites.
end, oh yeah, 100%. Um, before we end, do you have any closing thoughts or closing pieces of advice, or really just anything that um, any tips you would recommend, or just anything before we close?
Uh yeah, I just want to say that if you are into Pokemon or collecting or any type of hobby, just do what makes you happy and don't worry about what other people are
Mhm.
doing. And that will take you so much further. And that's really all I have to say.
Mhm. Yeah, that's I definitely feel that. I was recently on a trip. I just came back from where did I go? Keene, Texas. So it's like a suburb of Dallas, and we were just it was a school trip. So and people know that I do this in school. And I was talking about we stopped at a Taco Bell for lunch, and my one of my friends was talking to me about it. And we were just talking about content and stuff because he helps me with some of the stuff. And someone came up, he was like, there's no way you can be doing stuff with that, right?" And I was just like, I was like, bro, what did you just say? And like, obviously, I showed him my stuff and all the stuff. He's like, oh, that's really cool. So definitely, it is a. I feel like it's an underrated niche to those that don't know, but to those that do know, it is a very good niche to be a part of. Um, so keep on collecting and keep on just doing stuff. And yeah, that's really cool. Just keep on doing what you love, which is collecting and trading and selling and flipping and all that type of stuff. But I thank you for being on. I know we had some technical difficulties. Hopefully, all those got taken out. And before we close, where can people find you?
Thank you for having me and check me out on Instagram, whatnot, eBay, all the platforms. It's Rocket City Collector. And yeah, shout out to you for having me on here, man. Thank you.
Of course, we'll have to do it again. Hope we can meet in person soon again. Thank you for that. And this all concludes the second episode of the PokéSells podcast with the amazing JD Rocket City Collectors. Hope to see you guys soon, and until next time, bye.
Sweet.